Hello and welcome to QUIZZY Monday. It's been another packed night of exciting quizzing. Two tight matches on Mastermind and University Challenge. Very exciting, and we're glad that we've got some of the guests from those shows with us tonight. Don't forget, before we get going, that I'll put this here. You can put questions and comments into the chat, and we'll be able to look at those. And if you have any questions for any of the contestants, we'll be able to cover those off. So later on, we have got, running a few minutes late, Jaimy Sajit from Birmingham, and Mark McParlin is hopefully coming, internet connections permitting. They're not with us just yet, but we do have from Mastermind Jason Hill and from the Birmingham team University Challenge, John Robinson, and I'll bring those on right now. He says right now. So welcome, Jason, and
hey,
John. Evening.
Hello. Hello.
So yeah, not a night of joy.
You could say that.
John has been on before, a good number of times, and you know, good double act with Michael. Unfortunately, Michael is treading the boards in Stratford upon Avon at the moment, so he couldn't be with us tonight. But yeah, so welcome back, John. Jason has been with us previously on Quiz Week, but I'm not sure if you've been on QUIZZY Monday, Jason. So welcome on to QUIZZY Monday. We have got some comments in the chat already. Gerard says, one character on a soap seemed a subject narrowing too far for many Mastermind observers tonight. We will get on to that, Jason. Claire, sorry to see Birmingham go tonight. The advantage is I get to hear the gorgeous Rashid again. Claire does like Rashid's dulcet tones, it has to be said. Gerard, for the record, I checked IMDb. Doug Ross was in 109 episodes. Yeah, I think that's the issue. Pam says, hello, everyone. Hi, that's Pam Douglas.
Hi,
and Gerard, I was rooting for BRUM myself, as I know John. Hello, John. Welcome, Jason. All the comments are in. He has a lovely voice. I think you mean Sajit there. So Catherine is saying, Jason, question for you. I presume Jason knows what the SUNWACDA acronym means.
I certainly do. Yes, I'll be giving away some of the answers, but yeah, it's to remember the names of the Yorkshire rivers going from in an anti-clockwise route. Swale, Nid, Wharf, Air, Calder, Don. I think so.
Very
yeah.
good. Very good. So let's start with you, Jason, and that buys time as well for John's teammates to come along. What was it about the rivers of Yorkshire that enticed you? Because one thing that was obvious, you loved that subject. People don't always love their subjects, but you clearly loved that subject. The smile when things were coming up, you know, what was it about that really appealed to you?
Oh, well, I guess it was one of those things where part of me thought if I was going to be answering questions without any preparation, I'd have a good fist of it, simply because, yeah, as you might guess, I've got Yorkshire accent, so I grew up in Yorkshire and interested in geography and kind of exploring the county. So having that kind of interest as growing up as a teen, the knowledge is kind of there. So I thought, well, I guess I'm going to kind of do some extra revision just to make sure that I've got things kind of covered. But the interest and the passion for exploring Yorkshire rivers was kind of there from as a childhood thing, I guess.
And you like to go dipping in the,
yes.
In the rivers. You like to go swimming in cold water rivers, yeah?
Yeah. So I was kind of I was expecting a question on the River Hull, which I've swam in quite a few times. So it's just one of those things whereby if the questions, I was kind of visualizing a lot of the places that I was being asked the questions on, and I just think that with questions that kind of fire off your kind of visual imagination, it's just a pleasure to answer. That as you will have seen, anything that's sciencey, which kind of requires a little bit more kind of critical thinking, it takes a little bit longer. But with the kind of the visual stuff, it's just easier. The recall is just that bit quicker.
Yeah, and you know, you did really well. 10 out of 12. You missed Kelham Island, which, you know, I lived in Sheffield, so the Kelham Island Brewery was the
yes,
big giveaway in the industrial centre. So that was the only one I knew in the entire round of yours. So I'm that irritating person who says, I can't believe you didn't know that one.
I know. I had a comment from someone saying, "Oh, well, I did well on this because of the breweries, because obviously Yorkshire is really well known for its brewing, and if you know anything about, the Tancaster Brewery on the Wharf, that really helps. So, I'm sure that some beer aficionados out there have enjoyed that set as well."
Michael is saying there was a disappointing lack of River Tees questions.
Argument as to whether Tees is in Yorkshire or just on the border, you see.
Oh, controversial. Brendan, though, says great specialist subject from Jason tonight. I think it was it was a cracking one. How many rivers were there for you to get your head around?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. Depends what you class as a river. Probably kind of in terms of water courses, there's a good 40 or 50. And I did I had a map up on the wall, and I did obsessively kind of like learn all the little ones, the Pocklington Becks and the Myers Beck, and just in case those came up. So, but no, it was a big hitters, to be honest, that came through.
And how, so you had something on the wall, did you do anything else? Did you make notes? Did you flashcard it, Jason? What did you do to nail these facts in your head?
Yeah, I mean, as a visual learner, having the map was really good, but flashcards, it's the bread and butter of quiz preparation, isn't it? So, I one thing that really helped was basically having the flashcards with the start and the end of each of the rivers. I think I messed up a little bit on one where I said Airmin instead of Google, but by and large, kind of using the flashcards for the start and the end of rivers, and then working out all the different kind of settlements along the river. Each of the rivers that helped out as well. But just having the map and filling out the map time and time again, that really helped.
And John, you're a flashcard person as well, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I've only really kind of got into it since we started doing UC. Actually, before that, my quiz revision was always a bit sort of haphazard and all over the place. Here's Jaimy joining. And it was actually Michael Bartell, our captain, who kind of introduced me to using Anki and that sort of thing. Hey, Jaimy.
Yeah, hey, Jaimy.
So it was as a result of that, really. So it's only really kind of 18 months I've started doing flashcarding.
Okay. Well, Jaimy seems to be having a few issues, but we're glad Jamie's been able to get with us. We'll wait until she comes back in. So you've been doing Anki, which a lot of people do. And do you do the whole spaced repetition thing? So, you get them right and then wait a little bit longer and then it comes up again and a little bit longer again. Do you do it like that, or do you just plow through more randomly?
So I do the spaced repetition thing where you do it, and if you know it confidently, then you won't see it again for a few days, and if you're not so sure, and it will come back in a few minutes or the next day or whatever. And it has been really useful, especially there's a really good Anki deck that I used because my art knowledge was terrible. So before we started doing our UC, I thought I'm going to try and get better at art, and there was a really good Anki kind of shared deck that you can get from the website where it has pictures of famous works of art and the artist and years they were painted, and they really helped. Again, going back to what Jason was saying about the visual of the map, the visual of the paintings really helped me to learn those sort of things as well.
Absolutely. Okay, so flashcards preparation. Had you been on Mastermind before, Jason?
It's the first attempt. So
so how was it? When compared to expectations, was it more terrifying, less terrifying? How did it live up to those expectations?
Well, I think it was a little bit tired because it was one of the England knockout games. It might have been England against Denmark, the beginning of July, and it was filmed. So not ideal. I did try to kind of get a good night's sleep, but the England game was quite exciting. But it was a bit strange recording in a audience-free kind of studio. That probably made it slightly less nerve-wracking. And I just looked at the chair and I thought, it's just a chair. So it didn't really hold any fear, to be honest. And I tried to be as calm and kind of collected beforehand. That was the main thing. Because if the more you can try to recreate that scenario of you being at home watching everything on TV, the more the answers flow.
Absolutely. Jaimy, welcome. Glad you're here.
Hi,
Hopefully
Gareth.
you
Nice
can hear us. If you do have problems with your connection, you can go into the cam settings and select a lower resolution, and sometimes
Should I do that?
perversely it actually gives you a better quality picture than when your computer's struggling or connection's struggling. John and Jaimy, so whilst Jamie's looking at that, what was the University Challenge then like? We heard from Jason. That's a bit better, yeah. We heard from Jason about, you know, the reality versus the anticipation. Jaimy, what was it like stepping onto that set for the first time on University Challenge?
Oh, what a question. Obviously, I was so nervous. But I had, you know, the team. We were a collective, like, you know, force to be reckoned with. So we had this, like, each other's strengths to fall back on, and I was quite happy with us. But obviously, I was nervous. But I think they made it. It's more relaxed to be on the show than to watch it. I mean, I've watched so many episodes, obviously preparing for it. But you know, they give you a little glass of water. Oh, would you like some water? The staff was so friendly. Jeremy Paxman's doing his own thing. It's nice to see. It was a really lovely experience, to be honest. All round, like, not just being on the show, but the experience of getting there and everything. Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah, excellent. John, how about you? You've done TV shows before, as we've established. You've probably done one of the most scary ones in Millionaire, but, you know, again, for you, summing up this whole University Challenge experience, you know, what was it like being part of a team, being, you know, on that famous set in front of Paxman, you know, for you?
Yeah, I think I've said before in various instances to different friends that bizarre. I think I definitely enjoyed doing this much more than Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and stuff, because there's not quite as much pressure, because there's no money riding or anything, and it's just much more enjoyable to do it as part of a team, because you're not just on your own and got the pressure of a solo contestant. And as Jaimy was saying, not just the actual show, but the run up to it, doing regular kind of practices on Zoom and stuff with all the team was just a really fun experience, really.
Brilliant. We will get on to team dynamics a little bit later, because there are people in the chat who've been asking questions, and of course people on Twitter who have lots of theories and lots of opinions. But whilst we, you know, chatting to Jason about Mastermind, you know, one of the things that stood out, obviously, you know, a lot of people have commented on your obvious joy in your subject. Eva was the queen of facial expressions, and that brilliant yeah, I'm on the quiz show, but, you know, kind of don't give a shit attitude was just brilliant. But then the question we had earlier was about the Doug Ross 109 episodes of ER. How did you feel about that when you find out who you're up against and what you're up against? Did you kind of feel this is balanced, this is unbalanced? What were your thoughts?
I guess the thing is you concentrate on your own questions and your own subjects, and the other contenders kind of worry about their own subject materials. So that's at the moment you start kind of overthinking about the other contestants, then it becomes far less enjoyable. So I did have some fun. I think I answered internally some of the Madonna questions. There's some really nice ones there, but. Yeah, I mean, I had the subjects that I kind of requested were very equally kind of wide ranging. And some, I guess people can say, well, why are you choosing to do that? I think I had the BBC comedy show outnumbered as a selected choice. And there are a finite number of those. I don't think there are that many episodes. And I thought, well, I really like the show. There aren't that many to watch. So, and I'm sure people would have criticized that, but People will criticize anything, is my kind of take on things.
They will. I remember when I was first on, I was told, you know, the narrower the subject, the deeper they go. If it's a very broad subject, they'll tend to be more surface level. I'm not quite sure if that holds true, but we had some broad subjects tonight. You know, well, deep subjects maybe. Doug Ross, 109 episodes. You've got to think of every plot line, every character he interacted with. I think that's a huge subject. I think NHL. 20 years of NHL is a huge subject when you think about every game. Madonna's had this massive career. And then you did the rivers of Yorkshire. And it's not only just kind of the rivers themselves, it's the towns and cities they're on and the geographical features. I thought there were 4 nicely pitched, fairly wide subjects for me watching it anyway. Jaimy or John, I don't know if you had a chance to watch Mastermind tonight before your show and what you thought of the subjects that were on offer.
Yeah, I did watch it, and yeah, I think it was a good range of subjects. I quite enjoyed the Madonna one, even though I'm not a massive Madonna fan. I was able to get a couple of those right, just from sort of general knowledge of pop music. Yeah, I didn't know any of Jason's Rivers ones at all, so kudos for that. But yeah, I thought it was a nice range of kind of highbrow, lowbrow, British, international ones. I thought it was a good selection.
Jaimy, is Mastermind something you would consider going on?
I think 2 years into my medical degree, I think I need the content there's so much work to do that I think I need to dedicate more time to it. I think it's something that deserves a lot of time. But I wasn't able to watch the episode tonight. I don't know if you know, I just got back from work. But yeah, yes. I have to watch it later. I'm excited now about the preamble.
That's true. John did tell me that you were doing some sort of emergency life-saving training, which, saving lives is marginally more important. Excellent. Saving lives is marginally more important than watching TV.
Only just.
Controversial opinion. No, that's fantastic, Jaimy. And we do appreciate you coming on because you must be knackered after a long day. But yes, so Jason, we got to halfway, and Ashley had 11, Syrian 8, you 10, Eva 8. What were you thinking at that point? You were thinking 1 point off the lead, fancying your chances?
Yeah, again, as I said earlier, you worry about yourself rather than the other contenders, and I thought it was clawable back. I thought, if I had a good start and a kind of like a consistent first third, I think things will be okay. So I was feeling quite confident at that time, and I wasn't too kind of nervous. So yeah, I thought it was a total that was eminently 11 was eminently achievable, I guess, and in terms of getting that first spot.
But alas, it wasn't to be.
No.
We got a couple of comments. Gerard saying NHL was probably the hugest subject, and Michael agreeing on paper massive. It was only the last 20 years, so not 100 years of history, but nonetheless, loads of games per season. So yes, that was a big subject, and to kind of. Do you find yourself over preparing, Jason, when to make sure that you're covering the minutiae?
Oh, absolutely, yes. We're looking at the kind of all the texts that I had to kind of go through. I was panicking slightly that I'll be asked a question on some obscure river and I'd be kicking myself that I hadn't. And I think there was the Sheffield's island question. I don't remember reading about that at all. So that was the only thing that I kind of slipped through. But yeah, that's the one thing you do with your preparation. You're spurred on by the thought that, oh gosh, I'm going to be asked about something that I've just not read at all. So it's certainly over the course of the several months where you're kind of preparing, it does incentivize you. That's for sure.
So in your general knowledge, you started off with a couple you got right, and then you had a little spell where you couldn't buy an answer.
Yes.
Did that start to mess with your head?
Oh yes, yeah. I think that when you're just basically kind of unaware of your surroundings, and it's just listening to to Clive and listening to the questions, so they kind of trip the questions, the answers flow. As soon as you start to kind of think, oh, where am I? Oh, right, okay, I should be answering questions. And it was a really simple one on the breastbone that if you'd asked me the question now, I would have known, and a question on Hogarth as well. And once you kind of dig yourself into that little bit of a hole, it's quite difficult to kind of get yourself back, and you just have to remind yourself, okay, back to kind of focusing and listening. Mastermind is so much about good listening skills, and listening to kind of like the key parts of the question. So once you've got back into that kind of listening mode, it all starts to flow again. But when you're out of it and when your brain's kind of thinking about your environment and how well you're doing, how you think you might be appearing, then that things start to fall apart.
I mean, it's tricky, but you set a total, and at one point it looked like Ashley might not get there. Were you sitting in the chair thinking, "Oh, blimey, this could go my way"?
Absolutely.
Counting on your fingers.
4 or 5 he got wrong on the trot, the MOT question, and I was thinking, gosh, and then it came to a question of whether the answer was blunderbuss, and I thought, okay, that's it. And then they had a sequence of relatively easy questions, and he got back into the room, and I was able to kind of overtake my total. So, but kudos to Ashley for kind of holding his nerve and getting himself over the line with that.
He really did. But it was. I think people underestimate, and this goes for University Challenge, and I think probably any TV quiz, quite how much the environment and the day can affect you. And you go into studio, who knows what time you're up during the day, and what how well you've eaten and how well hydrated you are.
Yes.
It can really have an impact on you. So it's not just about kind of having the knowledge; it's about everything that kind of physiologically helps you get that stuff out when you need it. And you'd had football intervening in your in your prep.
Yes, I'm not even the world's biggest England fan, but just the excitement and having a little bit of adrenaline the night before means that naturally you're going to come down a little bit the following day. You're not feeling quite so fresh. And I do remember kind of halfway through the general knowledge round feeling just a bit hungry, and I was thinking, why is my body saying that? That's just because, I hadn't had anything eaten anything for a little while. So it's just that's the advice that I give anyone being on TVs. Make sure you're hydrated and that you've got your blood sugar levels up, because if that dips a little bit, then that's going to affect your performance.
Jaimy, as a medic, is there anything you can add to what is good physical preparation for quizzing?
I think it's important to stress getting enough sleep as well. And we have a story about that because, John, which episode was it?
Well, it was the Reading game and also the second round match, when Michael basically didn't sleep at all.
And then was it Kings as well?
Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah, I think Michael basically had problems sleeping before every match.
But obviously we didn't.
Yeah. So yes,
it's obviously great anyway, but that's something. Sorry.
Yeah. Dave Matthews is saying Haribo is the best prep for quizzing. Certainly, that's what they do on Only Connect. Jason, you didn't make it this time. First time is just for reconnaissance. So hopefully you will be back in that Mastermind black chair before too long. But well done for giving it a go and coming so close, coming second in your heat. Excellent work. Birmingham, you won some, and unfortunately you lost the last couple. So let's get to the subject that people have been opining on and been asking about here, about the optics, for want of a better word, of your team. Jaimy, could you tell us a little bit perhaps about how the team was kind of constructed and seating and your perspective on that? Because a lot of people have been putting kind of words or feelings in your mouth. What was it like from your perspective?
For me, okay, well, to be on the team itself was like so amazing. I was just so happy to be sitting there and like being able to answer these questions with them. And from these, like, it's important to know, and we've stressed this on Twitter as well. I put out a statement. Michael put out a statement that, 'cause, 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 ' you know, it's important to notice that this is like an edited show, and you know, they want it to look fast paced and stuff, when perhaps it's not as it seems. So it's definitely not as, you know, everyone's making it out to be, that Michael hates me or there's something going on and there's so many people laughing about what everyone was saying. Not that at all. So I mean, I don't need to tell you that John and Michael are amazing quizzes. And so naturally Michael might, you know, look to John, especially if we were particularly stumped about a question, and that too, that there was two people on that side, just me on this side. But it was never that Michael wouldn't listen to me if I had an answer or if I had something to offer or anything. And I felt that like I was able to contribute when I wanted to. So I would like to put those rumors to rest.
and being a medic, presumably you have sort of scientific knowledge that kind of would come into play if there were science bonuses or particularly medical bonuses, which means you must have been tearing your hair out that medical physics as a bonus set went to the other team.
There was so many times when I was like, oh my goodness, like if I got them all three, come on. And especially I think in the Reading match, there were so many that fell over to them. I think like you said, it's about the environment and it's about luck, and you know, sometimes it's just about like the way the way the questions are dealt and what happens in the moment. So
so you didn't get kind of fortunate enough to kind of have loads of questions on your topic. John, there were quite a lot on literature throughout today and some of the other games, and obviously you're good at literature. Michael is good at literature. Did you get a sense that they kind of composed the sets with the spread of knowledge of the players in mind, or is it just what University Challenge does?
I actually asked this question to the producers. I said, do you have specific question sets for specific matches, knowing what the strengths of certain players are? And they said, no, it is entirely random. And sometimes it might seem, as a result of confirmation bias or whatever, you might think, hang on, all these literature people are getting loads of literature questions, or all these scientists are getting lots of science questions. But they said, we don't know who's playing which match. The question editors don't write for a specific set of teams or whatever, so it is just entirely random.
It's a pity Michael's not here. He's from the Shakespeare Centre, I think, at Birmingham University. He's currently acting with the Royal Shakespeare Company, and there was a Shakespeare starter. How much was he kicking himself that he couldn't remember bees?
Yeah, I mean, he said there were lots of things that all of us kind of regretted after that match, thinking, if only we buzzed on this, or we should have gone for that. But yeah, I think that was one that Michael in particular was kicking himself for. But the thing is, I mean, Michael had done so well. He's one of the top scorers out of all of the contestants on the whole series, so he certainly shouldn't have been beating himself up about it. But he just said it was one of those moments where, yes, he's a Shakespeare expert, but he doesn't know every single thing about Shakespeare, and he had a bit of a mind blank and couldn't remember. And I was sitting there when the question came up thinking, brilliant, we're gonna get this. And then when he didn't buzz in, I think the other team buzzed in first, and they got it wrong. And then it came over to us, and I thought, well, none of us need to bother buzzing because Michael's going to get it. And then when he didn't buzz, I thought, well, I'd better buzz and guess something, because otherwise it's just going to go dead. So so I buzzed in with a very incorrect answer.
Yeah, but got to go for something, haven't you? Rather than let it go dead. Jaimy, you had a neg that looked like a mind blank situation as well. It kind of felt for you buzzing in, and then was
no, exactly that. So it was a topic that I had really drilled in, and at the beginning I thought they were gonna. Well, I was sort of trying to. So I knew it was like the first Nobel, and I was trying to remember it, and I think it was that I was going to say it was the Nobel Prize for Medicine and Physiology. And then when we had passed that bit and I'd already buzzed, and it was like, oh, what is it for? And then when I negged, it was like the world had come crashing down. But it was still like the clues that they gave at the end, I was like kicking myself, because then obviously I remembered it, and then they finally gave the answer. Yeah, you win some, you lose some, what you say.
And I think I had the exact same thing, because what happens often is you'll buzz in thinking you know the answer, and then in the half a second between you buzzing in and Roger Tilling saying Birmingham Robinson, Paxman will read a couple more words, and then it happened to me in the same episode today where I thought, hang on, what I thought was the answer clearly is not the right answer, because I buzzed in to say doula, because the question was about what's the name of someone who helps a woman in childbirth or labour, and I thought this is a doula, and then after I buzzed in he said a couple more words and I thought, hang on, no, this isn't a doula, and then I realised I was wrong. So yeah, so sometimes you buzz, you're ambitious and buzz in early, and then he gives you more information and you realise, hang on, that's not where he was going.
And presumably there's a fine line of not wanting to wait too long for that killer clue, because that might let one of the other team, the opposition in. And if it's do you feel pressure if it's on your subject? Because you said about you kind of looking at Michael when it's Shakespeare. Do you feel pressure if it's on your topic, that everybody is expecting you to buzz in?
I think to an extent, I think in today's episode especially, it wasn't so much that any of us felt pressure on our topic. It's just because we were so far behind at the halfway point. I think we all just were then really reluctant to buzz in early, because we then didn't want to go even further behind. So whereas in previous matches, we'd often had a kind of a healthy lead and it didn't really matter if we buzzed in early and lost 5 because we were still far ahead. But today there was one stage where I think it was 80 to -10, and we couldn't really afford to go any further behind. So we just then end up being more cautious, which meant they could then buzz in and get in ahead of us, which obviously is frustrating.
And it's the first time you'd really been in that sort of jeopardy, I guess, wasn't it, in the whole tournament? Because you'd normally been the team streaking ahead of other teams, and the game against Reading was a nice tight affair, as I remember. I mean,
even against Reading, at the halfway point, we were actually quite a bit ahead, and then they came back in the second half. So this was the first time that we'd had to come from behind, really, and didn't quite manage it.
Yeah, you the first 3-5 starters all went to Kings. They didn't capitalize on them, so you were still in the game, really, which was a saving grace for you. And when you did, you yourselves got a run of 5 starters. And we're back in it at 115 all. At that point, knowing that the gong must be coming soon. I mean, Jaimy, how on the nerves at that point in time? Have you got a mental dialogue going on, thinking, "I've got a buzz, I've got to get us in"? But on the other hand, if I get in, what is going on in your head?
Yeah, it was crazy. I think at one point I was just staring out, like, oh no. Oh no, what's going on? This isn't supposed to happen. Yeah, it was I could see, like, I could feel everyone's frantic energy, and obviously I was listening really hard as well. And then a part of me was like, is it even worth it? And tricky.
I mean, it was a good match, 2 good teams, and it's a shame one of you had to go, but it's this weird competition structure. At least you got one more game. If it had been straight knockout, you'd have been out after the last one. Again, pressure wise, knowing that you could be out. Last game you always had another one or maybe another 2. This time going into that game, were you kind of a little bit more on edge, or was it just same as ever?
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I think definitely a lot more pressure, because, like you say, we knew against Reading that even if we lost, we were coming back for at least one more match. But this was very much winner takes all. And there was actually one little interesting little tidbit of information is this: had we actually got through to the semi-finals, or indeed the final, I wouldn't have been able to play in either of those matches, because the filming dates changed around quite a few reasons because of COVID and stuff. And when the semi-final and final were due to be filmed on the same day that I was getting married, so I got married in October last year, which is when those episodes were filmed. So the episode that was on today was filmed 2 days before I got married. Had we got through to the semi-finals and final, then it would have been filmed on the day I was getting married, so I wouldn't have been able to do that, actually. So I didn't deliberately lose so that I could just say I would be in more episodes. But our reserve Rachel would have had to take my place had we got through.
I wonder if Rachel was thinking, that's got to be mixed feelings, hasn't it? Being plunged into the deep end of a semi-final, but on the other hand, she gets to play. So
Yeah.
But wedding is a good excuse.
Yeah, I mean, I was tempted to ask Chloe, my now wife and fiance, to say, if we do happen to get through, how do you feel about postponing the wedding for a couple of days? But don't think it would have gone down very well.
No, indeed. I had a really good question lined up. Now I've kind of forgotten what it was.
Sorry.
Went off on a tangent. No, my fault.
Sorry if I can just. It's really funny because they were like, obviously, really like sincere about, oh, sorry that it was your, we didn't know about the dates and everything. I think they even said that they could drive us, like the rest of the team, to John's wedding, like the venue on the night. And it was a manic weekend anyway, but yeah.
Yeah, so the plan was, had the team got through to the final, then the rest of the team were going to come to my wedding in the evening. So they would have filmed the final and then come down in the evening to celebrate. But sadly, it wasn't to happen.
Yeah. Catherine says, congratulations, John. Hope the wedding went well.
Thank you. It did.
Now, Jaimy, we had last time Birmingham won. We had Michael Hutchinson. And he told us a little story about rest, ice compression, elevation.
Did he tell you the whole thing?
Go on. You tell us the whole thing, because I don't know if it was the whole thing. Go on.
I was thinking, how can I get that story in? if that's something I've learned, is to keep your mouth shut before you film. So we were getting ready. Right before we got into the studio, we were lined up as our two teams. And then one of the producers comes out and she's asking us, oh, what do you study and stuff? So I'm saying, oh, I study medicine. She said, oh, I've got my, I think it was her ankle or something. She said, I've already hurt my ankle. What should I do? I said, oh, that's easy. Oh, there's this thing called RICE. You just rest it, ice it, compress it, elevate it. And I was like, oh, I've done a good deed. I feel good. I feel good for this episode now. We go in and imagine that it's one of the questions. And Hutchinson, this sort of, his sponge of information has just, buzzed before me. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. So had the camera been on you at that moment, what sort of face would you have been?
Oh, you wouldn't want to have seen my face. I was like, oh, no, forget this. I can't believe I've given an answer away. And then later, I did talk to him about it, and he said, yeah, thanks for that one. I didn't know that before. I was like, okay. And I didn't get telling off from these guys. Yeah, it was a good story.
No, these weird things happen. I remember when I was in the green room for the 15-1 grand final, and some people were asking questions, and there was one about bronze is an alloy of which metals. That came up in the final. Somebody was talking about cocktails and talking about White Russians. That came up in the final. Got to a point where I was thinking, did they bug us in the green room? And more to the point, what did I talk about that might come up? Because it was just absolutely bizarre. It probably is about 3 or 4 that came up, but it was just weird. So you never know.
Well, we did have quite a nice coincidence actually in today's episode, which is a couple of days before filming, Mark McParlin, who was going to be here but seems to have dropped off the face of the earth, he'd messaged our WhatsApp group saying, what any last minute things that we should be revising, you think we haven't covered? And one thing I mentioned was I'd seen a couple of old episodes of UC recently, and there've been a few questions about who was Prime Minister when this person was Foreign Secretary. So I said to Mark, if you could just quickly look over lists of Home Secretaries and Foreign Secretaries. And then luckily enough, we did have a series of questions about Foreign Secretaries and Home Secretaries on that episode. So that was quite good.
And you're able to pick those up, which was part of the comeback. Rashid, though, he's a good player, isn't he? He's a good player, and that's without Claire Barrow's love of his voice. But he had a very good game, and his answer of Neoplatonism. I don't know whether he knew that was going to be the winning buzz or not, but he looked very, very happy with that answer. Did you have any sense of how much time was left at that point?
No, the weird thing is that there's no clock in the studio or anything. You don't know how long you've got left. Your only indication is when it's the second picture round, that's 3/4 of the way through. So there's probably only about 5 minutes after that. So we'd had the second picture round, and then we'd had another couple of questions since then. So I think we all sort of sensed this could be the last question. And when Paxman said in philosophy, I thought, well, this is either Rashid is going to get this because he's a philosophy student, or Michael's going to get this because Michael, his undergraduate degree, I think, was in philosophy or something very similar. And I think Michael did go to buzz. I could sort of see out the corner of my eye, but unfortunately, it was a split second behind Rashid.
And those are the margins, aren't they? You know, you can know exactly the same stuff, and if somebody is just that split second faster, it makes all the difference. It was a tight match. It was a good game. What were your feelings on exiting? Were you having regrets? Were you kind of beating yourselves up, or was it, you know, kind of a little bit philosophical, to coin a phrase? Jaimy, how were you feeling at the end of that?
So obviously after we'd finished filming, we had the evening to ourselves, and when we were having breakfast the next day, that room was full of teams that knew they were going to play at least one other match, and it sort of gave me vibes of, you know, in The Apprentice when the losing team goes to that cafe. It was that, and we were like, right, not very. We were like, right, let's just get out of it. But I know, looking retrospectively, it was a really lovely experience. And even though, you know, I felt that perhaps our team, you never know if we got put with different teams and it could have gone different ways. But at the end of the day, it was a really great experience. And I'm so glad that, like, A, that I got to do it, and B, that I got to do it with these guys. So.
Wonderful. John, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, genuinely, I felt so gutted at the end. I think as the credits were rolling, if you look at all of our faces, we're just pictures of despair, really. And we all just, afterwards, I think we all went and just got horrendously drunk together to try and blot out the pain. And like Jaimy says, one of the most annoying things was having to then see all the other teams and explain that we hadn't got through, and they were still excited about potentially getting through. So yes, it took quite a while to get over it. To be honest, I was quite upset for quite a few days. Although I had to put a brave face on it at my wedding, obviously.
had to pretend to be happy on that day at least, or not pretend. But Jaimy, have you carried on doing quizzing, or was this kind of it until the end of your medical studies?
So we actually established a quizzing society at the University of Birmingham, and so John's our treasurer, I'm the secretary, Michael's the president, and we're trying to get that going currently. And then we've got quiz bowl tournaments that we do on the side, and the British Student Championships coming up. So that's the sort of stuff that I'm focusing on at the moment. So yeah, I definitely like to keep on quizzing, but I don't know about broadcast in the future. That's something I have to think about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, congratulations on getting as far as you did. You gave us all a lot of entertainment, and you played brilliantly until, unfortunately, your time in the boardroom. I was trying to do the whole Alan. Your time in the studio.
Just say you're fine.
But so yeah, you know, at the end of the day, there is only one team that leaves the series overjoyed, yeah, we have narrowed it down by one, and I have to say, I thought you guys were going to win today, but
so do we. Interestingly, sorry, I think that the Kings team said afterwards they were convinced they were going to lose, because I think they'd seen our first couple of round performances and theirs hasn't been quite so convincing, and they came out and they said we just went into the game wanting to have fun because we were convinced we were going to lose to you guys. But yeah, sadly it wasn't to be.
Pam says, Pam, who lost on Mastermind a couple of weeks ago, I won't get over Mastermind for ages. It can do that to you. Jason, how were you after?
Oh yeah, it was strangely enough, I was thinking I was worried more about the specialist subject, and in the end it was the general knowledge, which I think undid me, but bit of disappointment, but yeah, I'm pleased that my knowledge kind of came to fruition with the Yorkshire Rivers specialist subject. So it was a great experience. I really enjoyed it, and yeah, it's another the show to add to the list of shows that I've been on. So yeah, heartily recommend it to anyone even thinking about giving it a go.
Brilliant. Well, I'm going to briefly now do the Quiz Week roundup. So I'll pop all three of you back in the waiting area for a couple of minutes while I do that roundup. And then when I bring you back, we'll try and pick out our champagne moment of the day, which, yeah, I mean, I throw you this one for free, tittering, which I thought was a good answer. Oh, Jason's disappeared. Oh, no, he's in the stream with audio only. Okay, so yeah, I'll pop you into the waiting area. We'll come back and we'll talk about champagne moment. If anybody's got a champagne moment they want to throw into the chat, let us know about that. Before I go, Darren Miller says, never done Mastermind with UC, but I lost on the chase. Never got over the absolute rubbish answers I gave when I watched it back. You tend to overthink, don't you? Yeah, that's quizzing for you. Anyway, we will be back in a couple of minutes with John, Jaimy, and Jason to wrap up tonight's show. And Quiz Week. So, if we can have the first slide, please. So, winner of Quizzer of the Week last week was Victoria Gross for her second Mimir title of the year so far. That was quite incredible. Second was Amy Schneider, who won 40 consecutive episodes of Jeopardy. And third was David Harris for his, I think it's for his performance in the Quizzing World Cup. Team of the Week was Edinburgh University for their win in University Challenge last week. Second was Astor Teen Hunger Force for their game in the Quizzing World Cup. And third was Sussex for their game in the President's Cup in Quizliga London. Don't forget, you can nominate people or teams for Quizzer of the Week, Quiz Team of the Week at tinyurl.com/ATQ nominations. Nominations are open until 5 o'clock next Monday for this week's achievements. In our What is the Question competition, the answer was crown, and the winning question was Liechtenstein's flag used to be identical to that of Haiti. They discovered this at the 1936 Summer Olympics, and subsequently, what item was added to Liechtenstein's flag so the two could be distinguished? That was by Tom Mead. Congratulations to him. The current question in need of answers is claw, and we put that out on Sunday, and people have been sending in questions, and you can now vote on the long list at tinyurl.com/WITQ claw. Voting is open until the middle of the week, and then we'll give you the shortlist. Don't forget, we are still asking people, if you like what we do, to like and subscribe. So please subscribe to this channel and like our videos. It will help other people like you who like quizzing to find us. We do this free out of the goodness of our hearts. So things like that really help to keep the motivation up. So please like and subscribe and share videos with other people. And now on to the news from the week. In the Quiz Grand Prix at the weekend, Pat Gibson won. He was just 0.3 of a point ahead of Kevin Ashman, with British champion Evan Lynch in third. Genres were won by Evan Lynch, Brian Davis, Kevin Ashman, Elsa Watson, Michael McPartland, and Pat Gibson. In the USA, the Pop Solos Mimir competition, it was the end of the year final special competition for the Pop Solos Mimir. It's a pop culture competition. The winner was Ben McIntyre, who won with a comfortable 6-point margin. The final is available to view on YouTube. Ben gets a nomination for Quizzer of the Week. In the online quiz league, there were no full houses in OQL this week, and loads of players got 7 2s. We can't nominate them all, so we nominate the player who scored 7 2s for the lowest placed team, and that's Heather Dowling of Division 7. 2 teams scored a monster 24 2-pointers. They were Mangoes and Victoria Phoenix, who both get nominations. In the Pop Culture Challenge, it's been week 1 of the Pop Culture Challenge, and 4 players laid down a marker with 14 out of 15 of their own questions correct. 2-time finalist Lewis Jones, Chris Devine, reigning champion Tom Adams, and Tim Hall all get nominations. In OQL USA, there were no full houses again this week, and a sway the 2s means again I'm looking for the lowest placed player. And in fact, there were 2 in the same Division 4 game. So that's Chris Panulo and Sean Cannon, who take the plaudits. There's no doubt what the match of the week was. Neutral MILF Hotel took on Taco Belly Rubs in Division 1. The MILFs have been undefeated in the league since February last year, but after 5 rounds, they were trailing by 6 points. A strong round 6 pulled them to within 1, and at the end of round 7, the scores were tied. They were still tied going into the final pair of questions, and Troy Meyer got his question right, leaving Scott Blish of Taco Belly Rubs to get his for 2 in order to tie the game. And he was the hero of the hour. He kept his nerves, secured the tie, and a personal score of 22-7. So Taco Belly Rubs get a nomination for their performance, being the first team for a year to take points in the league off the Neutral Milk Hotel. And Scott Blish gets a nomination for his performance under the greatest pressure. In the Quiz League of London, there's only one place to start in the search for nominations, and that's Division 2, where Eclectic scored a massive 26 out of 32 two-pointers to win their Division 2 game against Victoria Phoenix. Mark Ray was the pick of the bunch with a full house, while in Division 1, Dowd Jackson also got a full house. So nominations go to Dowd, Mark, and the Eclectics. A correction to last week when I said Oxford A had won the most recent Quiz Bowl tournament. It was Cambridge A. Yeah, I mean, Oxford and Cambridge don't care about that sort of mix-up, do they? Anyway, so we are putting Cambridge A in for a nomination off the back of that. On the 12th of February, there is a tournament, a medium difficulty Quiz Bowl tournament called MRNA. So look out for that if you're a quiz bowler. And that's all in preparation for the 5th of March with the British Student Quiz Championships, which will be played in face-to-face at Imperial. In the Quizzing World Cup, it was semi-final week, and we now know who the finalists will be. Aston Hunger Force beat Scotland B, and Australia Gold beat a full-strength Broken Warriors team. That's Ian Bailey, Olaf Bjortump, Kevin Ashman, and Pat Gibson. The Aussie team of David Regal, Michael Logue, Issa Schultz, and Ross Evans take a nomination for Team of the Week. Squizzed had its monthly competition, a global written quiz, and Carol Samato of Estonia came out on top, beating 189 other players. Second was Dowd Jackson of the UK. Third was Troy Meyer of the USA. Carol gets a nomination. And we had a write-in nomination about Patrick Friel, who won the BP Trivia Annual Championship in America versus a very strong field. He gets a nomination. So a recap of the nominations, and you have until Friday evening to vote. The nominees are Tom Adams, Scott Blish, Sean Cannon, Chris Devine, Heather Dowling, Patrick Friel, Pat Gibson, Tim Hall, Dowd Jackson, Lewis Jones, Ben McIntyre, Chris Panulo, Mark Ray, and Carol Sulmato. Team nominations go to Australia Gold, Cambridge A, Eclectics, Mangoes, Taco Belly Rubs, and Victoria Phoenix. Voting is now open at tinyurl.com/QW07FEB. Voting is open until Friday at 6 p.m. And don't forget, you can nominate people for Quizzer and Quiz Team of the Week for any performance from this evening through to 5 p.m. next Monday at tinyurl.com/ATQ nominations. That is it for Quiz Week. I will now return us back to the 3 guests. So welcome back, Jason, John, and Jaimy. And let me put you in, and you're back in the same place. So that's good. Loads going on, John. For people who don't do Grand Prix, for example, you play them regularly. How challenging are they? And how good do you have to be to win like Pat Gibson won this? Pat Gibson won this week.
Oh, I think they're like the creme de la creme, I guess, of serious quizzes. I was very pleased the one that I did at the weekend, which normally I'd go to Northampton and do it with you, Gareth, but I had to do it online this weekend for various reasons, and I got my highest ever placing, which I was very pleased about. But yeah, I mean, they are solid as anything. I think sometimes people who do them regularly maybe kind of underestimate just how tough they are, and I think if you gave them to the average person on the street, I think most people would barely get 1 or 2 right. So for people like Pat and Kevin and Didier who consistently get in the top 3, it's just an insane record, really.
Superb. Jason, Jaimy, John. Firstly, Pam says, well done, Michael. Michael is watching. Michael the Borough, who won the sport genre at the weekend. So well done to Michael. Very good on sport is Michael. In fact, anything pop culture. So looking at tonight's shows, hard perhaps to pick a champagne moment from your own shows, maybe having lost, but maybe there were, and in amongst it, moments that you really enjoyed. John, it doesn't have to be from your show; it can be from anything. But what was your champagne moment of the night?
I think maybe one thing I really, if I can do 2, I'll do one kind of personal one and then one not so personal one. I was pleased to buzz in and get De La Soul, just because we've had a terrible lot of music questions. Generally, we like to think we're pretty good on, especially pop culture and pop music on our team. But we've had some shocking music rounds. So I was pleased that we finally managed to get a pop culture one, or pop music one. So from a personal point of view, that was one of mine. From a less kind of personal point of view, I think. I mean, it sounds a bit wishy-washy, but just to be able to, it's not one particular moment, but just to have the experience of being able to quiz with the team that I did. I'm not just saying this, we genuinely all got on amazingly well, and we had so much fun together, and we really enjoyed going out together afterwards. So even though we lost, just the whole experience of being on the show together and kind of bonding and getting to know each other as friends was just a really great experience.
I'm glad you mentioned De La Soul, because that was something I did mean to bring up, because I'm pretty sure they even mentioned De La Soul on the clip you heard.
Possibly, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that they actually.
Yeah, I think at that stage, I think I was just panicking and just second guessing everything. I probably should have buzzed in much earlier for that, but just
yeah. It wasn't obvious, but if you knew what you were listening out for, I'm pretty sure it was there. But well done for getting it, because if you didn't catch it, then you're just kind of going on the genre and the era, I guess. So that was a good hit. Jaimy, what was your champagne moment of the night, or if you want of your University Challenge experience?
Of the night, I was thinking the way that we sort of we were so far down, and then we actually managed to come up and equalize. Is that was absolutely amazing of us, and if we had taken up further, that would have been great. But generally of the experience, I would say, similarly, it's the fact that we got to meet all those teams as well. You don't think they're all competitive, but they're also like all these amazing quizzes, and that's helped me form a network of people that I do look up to, and I love seeing what they're up to. It's great. So just the whole experience has been amazing for me, to be honest.
And that's great to hear, because if you believe some people on social media, you were a victim and were being treated terribly, but you are clearly saying that you enjoyed the experience, and that is fantastic to hear, because something like that is a once in a lifetime opportunity, and to get that experience and to enjoy it must be the creme de la creme. So yeah, thank you very much. Congratulations on what you achieved, Jaimy. And Jason, what was your
I guess it's a closer run thing between the banter off screen with Clive Myrie. He's a Lancastrian, so having Yorkshire rivers as a subject, we had a little bit of a joke about that before the question started. So that was nice. That put me at ease. And then a question on Howsham Mill, a subject of the BBC series Restoration. I think I had a big smile on when I kind of came up with that answer, like a place that I'd got some happy childhood memories of being there. So that was nice. But just the whole vibe was really enjoyable. As I said before, I'd recommend anyone give it a go. It's just such a fantastic experience.
Brilliant. I mean, I'm kind of. I thought for my selection, I did think the Birmingham comeback was thrilling, because as you hunted them down, and then Rashid got a buzz in, which kind of felt like it might have stopped your momentum, but then you came back. I thought that was great, because no one wants to see a one-sided match. We want to see good competitive games, and that's what it was. So I really enjoyed that. I did enjoy, say, the comment. I think it might have been Beard said of tittering, when it was the word that's also the name for noises made by birds or something. I did enjoy that. But I really loved Jason's just absolute joy in his specialist subject. That sort of every time you knew one. It wasn't just the fact of I'm going to get a point. It was that you loved what you were being asked about. And I really enjoyed that. I did also like the fact that when you didn't know an answer to a person's name, you threw out Jeff Bezos.
Where did that come from?
I thought that was just brilliant pass avoidance. But if anything will beat those for me, and I can say this now because Ashley won, but it was when he was asked about Selena Kyle and what kind of superhero, I guess she is. And he clearly knew it was cat related, but said Pink Panther. And I think for me that was delightful. I probably wouldn't bring it up if he'd lost, but I think that raised a wry smile. I mean, it was a very entertaining mastermind. It was a very entertaining university challenge. We appreciate all of you coming on tonight and chatting to us about your experiences. And there are some people who talk about doing things. There are some people who do it. You are life's doers, and congratulations, because without contestants, we don't get these shows that we love. So it's been brilliant. Your contribution to us for the last few months has been superb. And Jason, we will see you on on Mastermind again at some point, I'm sure.
Oh, for sure, yes.
Thank you to everybody who's watched this evening and joined us. Thanks to everybody who will be watching on catch up. And don't forget, you can see QUIZZY Monday every Monday at 9:05 through to the end of the Mastermind University Challenge season. Join us, and maybe you can come on, because next week, we are offering people the opportunity to come on as part of a new feature where we will be firing questions at you in a time-limited fashion to see if we can do a leaderboard. Think the Top Gear star at a reasonably priced car kind of gimmick. But we have a little bit of a MacGuffin. So if anybody wants to play that, email us at allthingsquiz@gmail.com, or we'll put a message up on our Facebook and Twitter and also on the YouTube channel, and let us know. And each week we'll have one, maybe two people trying out, see how far they can get in that competition. So if you fancy it, come and let us know. Pam is saying bye, see you all in March. I think, Pam, are you off on a cruise?
Very nice.
But
wow.
Yeah. Claire is saying thanks everyone and commiserations. Dave Matthews, surely the highlight was Clive Myra's interpretation of the lyrics of Hanky Panky. That one must have we did have slight problems with our TV at one point. I'll have to watch that one back. Catherine's thinking of a name for this new feature for QUIZZY Monday, Quizzer and a Quandary. Maybe, Catherine, we'll keep working on that. We will be doing that next week. So thanks to everybody who's watched. Don't forget you can vote for What is the Question at tinyurl.com/WITQClaw, and you can vote for Quizzer of the Week and Quiz Team of the Week at tinyurl.com/QW07FEB. I'll put both of those links in the description so you can click on those. And we will see you again next week. Imperial are on next week. I think they're playing Reading. So we will be doing our very best to get our return guests of Michael Hutchinson and Fatima and some of the others from Imperial to chat over that one. We look forward to that match. But finally, thanks again to Jason, Jaimy, and John, and we will see you again next week. Goodbye.